Happy Friday. Good afternoon. How's everybody? I'm just going to get in a little quickie this Friday because I wasn't planning on doing a video, but something big has dropped. And that is, I got a heads up from the UAE, and not only have they denied travel to anyone over 70 in the country, they've denied visitors entering the UAE. And I believe this is exactly what is to come. The end of travel for those who are a risk. And that is the over 70 crowd. Now, in addition to that, now of course my contact got me a photo right from the airport in the UAE, and it's wide open. It's the rule. Again, you won't travel if you're over 70. Now, a lot of people don't understand, but the UAE is like ahead of the pack when it comes to Agenda 2030. Each country in the world has this sustainable plan, and the UAE is 100% on track. Now, they're not even messing with the 99% vaccination allocation of every other country in the world. They're going for the full 100. Because in the UAE, you don't go around. You do what you're told. And what's happened there is last week I got the heads up that employers, well, I saw a letter that came from employer, went to an employer for the government, and that was all about weekly testing for every person in the country. That is, so every employer is responsible for that testing with their employees every week. Now, in areas like the UAE and Dubai, you're talking like there's a lot of domestic workers. Everyone has money there, and most have people that are domestic servants. So that became the employer's problem, is how they did it. And then, of course, now, because they have to pay for that weekly testing for their employees, of course, they want them to get the jab to keep their jobs. So what they're doing is, again, the pressure is coming from another source. So again, this is an attack from every angle. Now, again, we're all being reset to the goals of this plan, and the UAE coming out with no one over 70, again, traveling. And then they extended that to anyone with chronic health issues are highly discouraged from travel. Now, I've posted those on Facebook and Telegram. Check it out. But this is huge. It really is. Because I believe this is the beginning of it. And actually the denial of anyone who is perceived a liability. Now, my experience with the mask and WestJet just after the holidays, I got gaslit. And in that conversation, because I am in marketing and sales, I was being maneuvered into admitting into a chronic health condition that would prohibit me from travel. The fact is, guys, that's actually the catch. You do not want to admit a disability or a weakness that might not get you on the plane, because again, if you won't follow their protocols to the letter, and of course, remember, this is all about sustainability. Every road leads to Agenda 2030 right now, and sustainability. So you have to think about sustainability. Whose sustainability? Whose? It's the airline. Okay? So again, for incidents that a heart attack, a stroke, something that happens, these are fissures at their profitability. And they're making sure that there are none. There are literally no factors to slicing into the profits, eliminating all factors, including humanity. Now this is, again, this is just the UAE right now, so let me be clear. And I'm talking about my opinion right now as to what is going down. Okay, so this isn't coming from anyone else, this is coming from me. Because I studied this 16 hours a day for a year. I've been at this more than a year, guys, going hard. So believe me or don't believe me, but at the end of the day, I believe this is truly the limiting of mobility, of travel for the aged. They want to take away everything that they might possibly live for, because this is eugenics. So it's coming in from all sorts of directions. And again, it comes down to profitability. Now, what the World Health Organization did like a month ago was they began the conversation about liability between nations. Because again, if somebody's sick in another country, you know, what's the liability of Canada? And so they were posing this as discussions, but of course this is all part of the plan. Again, the gutting of airlines, they're doing it because it's never ever coming back. Never. And again, they're going to pick and choose who gets on those airlines. Now, in places like UAE, they've had those over 70s locked down. Ireland locked them down. I just got word from Mexico that they had them locked down. And in fact, in areas where there's expats living, Canadians and Americans living in Mexico, I mean, they were disallowed to go to big box stores and to shop and all of those things in Mexico. So again, it's like a war on the aged, because according to the UN, they've lived a good life. And that is the line. This is the sustainability. It is no longer us living long. They want to literally cull the weak, move them out, get rid of the expense on the healthcare system. Because in socialized healthcare, they're paying for you. And guess what? They don't want to anymore. They just couldn't tell us that, because the crowd would go wild. It's despicable. But again, it's where it's going. And of course, we can see that in the old age homes all around the world, locking down these poor people, confining them. It's not the humanity I thought we had, but we have literally ventured into the absolutely unethical. I mean, don't we get like a moratorium here? Can't they give us a 20-year bridge into this? No, they're going to plunge us. So we don't know what happened under the guise of all of this nonsense, which again is the biggest insurance scheme ever. And again, it's not Bill Gates front and center, it's Warren Buffett. He is the mastermind of this insurance scheme. It's diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. Bill's the protege. Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett. He's the mastermind and he's the mentor. In any case, it's bad news, guys, for those of us who are aging, because apparently, our kind isn't wanted. Population reduction And again, a gene therapy that lights up inflammatory conditions. And of course, Western society, perfectly ripe with all of these conditions. The food over the years, the sugar, everyone is, we have a great portion of the population in the West that is living with inflammatory conditions, and a lot of them not even understanding that. The sugar in the diet, the obesity, I mean, come on, where I live, it's 60% obesity. Those are, again, conditions that are going to be exacerbated. Now, part of this, sustainability, of course, again, is they're not going to be allowing people to do this to themselves anymore, because you're just going to die if you don't get yourself healthy. You'll be one of them that is cold, and that is how it's going to go. You see, our society was catering to people with disabilities and mental illness, and of course they wanted all of you to out yourselves. All these mental health lines, really actually cultivating that culture. And now they've turned it against the people that trusted in it all. Diabolical times. Debbie, there you are. Yes, I was talking about Mexico and the fact that, again, over 70s being targeted. Now, they did this in other places. Again, it was Ireland that it came to my attention right away, right when the measures came down, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And, of course, I have friends there, so they gave me the lowdown a little earlier than it got out. And my opinion at the time was that men in Ireland, older people in Ireland, would recognize what was going down, which is why they needed them locked down. And that because they remember war, and they had parents that were in the war, and again, an attachment to the energy of it all. And I remember that energy quite well at the beginning of all of it, from the day the measures came down in my city, and I went to insurance and it was locked down like Venezuela. In any case, I didn't want to take too much of anyone's time today. Moreover, it was really about letting people know about the fact that aging is just not a good thing anymore. It's not. They were romancing it there. Carrie, indeed, I'm getting text messages from local hospitals and who knows who else about where to get the vaccine and if I want one. As if I didn't know it wasn't a depopulation scam. For sure. It's a gene therapy, and I don't know if you saw the special. I put the links from my video yesterday to Dr. Mercola and Dr. Judy Mikovits interview, and that was all about the gene therapy. And yes, when the experts are describing it as murder and culling the herd, quote unquote, I listen. And it really spoke to me because I myself have inflammatory conditions. I do. And again, I've worked myself out of my asthma pretty much, but you know, it's interesting. When the measures first came down, I discovered there was a shortage of Ventolin inhalers. Now, apparently it came down to the brand, but even now they're rationing them. And when I freaked out in the pharmacy, the pharmacists Like I said, you mean people are dying because they can't get one of these? Because seriously, it's the rescue inhaler. And one woman looked at me and she just shook her head and put her head down. I mean, this was going on in Canada. Again, you can buy these everywhere, even a hut in Uganda, like in the middle of nowhere. I bought one. In the States, those Ventolin inhalers are now going for $500. They cost $20 here. They cost $10, $11, $12 in Ecuador, Mexico. So $500 in the US right now, $600. It's absolutely tragic, and there's got to be people dying if they can't get their hands on that rescue inhaler, because who could afford $500 or $600? I mean, in Canada alone, 875,000 children under 14 with asthma are in schools, which is another reason for not a mask, creating it, because that is like you're expecting those kids to choke all day in those masks, because as an asthmatic, that is exactly what it does. It's you're asking me to choke myself. Yeah, older people cannot be used. Yeah, well, you remember, but you know, again, as people say they know, but then they revert to dealing with government. I'm dealing with it with my own parents right now. I'm up here every day, you know, telling it like it is. And unfortunately, again, she knows, but circumstances make people get involved. And again, when it comes to seniors, I'm telling you, they're working hard to get in their homes. Again, I'm dealing with it right now. They want in. They want to know what's going on. They want access. And to me, that is absolutely dangerous. You don't let anybody in your door. Not the government, that's for sure. Considering right now we are literally in this is eugenics. The whole thing is being eugenics. The separation of people from one another. Making it against the measures to go out on a date, to have anyone to your home. If you're single, it's just absolutely, it's stopping procreation. Truly, it is. It's making it difficult for people to relate and get along. And oh my gosh, how difficult was it before? They've just added 10 bricks. Insane. In any case, it is eugenics. So that, and the fact that this gene therapy, if you want to have babies, you shouldn't be taking it. Quite honestly, again, everyone, I mean, our populations are rife with inflammatory issues. And that comes down to even people having a couple beers a day. Those are inflammatories. Bad food, genetically modified food, that is the worst inflammatory. All of the chemicals in these foods, and then of course, what are they doing? Passing us off this plant-based protein diet. And again, they never talk organic. These legume proteins are the most herbicide, pesticide intensive crops there are. And this is what people don't get. Touting this plant-based diet. And then again, these products prefabbed into meat that are additives, chemicals. They're not real food. They can't be recognized by your body. They can't be. We have metabolic pathways from here to Borneo. It never stops. And again, when you continue to introduce the unnatural into a natural system, it can't think. And it certainly can't operate properly. It can't. This is, I've never in my life thought I would ever see anything like this. Again, I've seen it in other countries. I've seen injustices. I never thought for a million years that such disrespect for history, for the elders. Because apparently that's now an enemy of the state, because they're imprisoning them. Yeah. Some people speculate that they're using human cells from aborted fetuses. Well, I've heard that from experts. Yeah. Yeah. Please go back and watch that with Dr. Judy Mikovits, because she really, for being a scientist, she explains very well. And with Dr. Mercola, he helps her, break it down so that we can understand this stuff. And then what I did was I sort of started, researching from her, from where she gave me a good start. And of course, I have read right from the Moderna website, did a video which got censored, talking about the gene therapy. It's an operating system. And again, it is not going to stop you from getting COVID. But, well, if you get one of the side effects, that's also part of the COVID disease. So all of those side effects are wrapped into COVID. So there's no liability. It's brilliant. It absolutely is brilliant. An award for the best heist. They would get it. But that is the United Nations, and they're behind it all. And of course, the World Economic Forum, the COVID action platform is absolutely, it's there on weforum.org, and you really need to go take a look at the virus. And it looks like one. And you start clicking around in that widget, and oh my gosh, the world opens up to you, because you're going to see how absolutely hard, the literal hardwiring presents itself as you click on and lights up and shows you all the, how the web is spun. This is going to be an issue, obviously, like now, for example, living in Ecuador years ago, and I know lots of people who do still, and many of them are over 70. Now, when stuff goes wrong, a lot of times, they end up going back to the United States for treatment. Anyone with a blood type O negative has to go back 9 times out of 10, because they just don't have the donors there. And they won't allow donors over 70 to donate the O negative blood. Interestingly enough, I just remembered that. But if people over 70 will be denied travel in the future, this is going to be a huge, again, decisions that have to be made. Because again, you won't be jumping on a plane. When you're 70, you're going to be planted. It seems to be, if you're still alive through all of this. Thank you, Carrie. Yes, the PSYOP is brilliant. Someone is set for life, for sure. Again, and under the guise of COVID, people will actually believe that this is all organic. Like all those airlines are like, pick me. Yes, destroy our businesses. No, they're stakeholders. They're absolute stakeholders in it all. Diabolical. Truly is. In any case, all we can do is just keep moving forward. Again, I am sharing a ton of information on Telegram, loving it there, because again, I am able to share the realities of what is going on. I have to mind my P's and Q's here on Facebook. I'm doing that to keep the platform. But over there, I get a little bit more raw. And again, the information coming in is international. And we're seeing, again, I'm not just covering the gene therapy, we're covering Agenda 2030. And again, how the world is literally being broken down to be rebuilt up. Never thought in a million years that it could be so brash. And for me, I see it like the big picture. So a lot of people don't see that. They're seeing bits and pieces of it coming together. Interestingly enough as well, in Alberta, if you guys are on Telegram, get onto the Angry Albertan. You really do have to check him out, because truly, he is the true blue of any movement. And right now, shit's going down where the sovereignists are trying to hijack him. And of course, I've been calling them out as controlled opposition right from the start. And a lot of people don't understand that it is, or it's a distraction. But Angry Albertan, man, that guy is he's the heart. And the UN is coming for him. Like they came for me here. His story is absolutely similar to my experiences as I was building up a group. And I'm so glad I feel somewhat redeemed, because basically I backed out of the freedom movement because, again, I could not be associated with what I could see them tailing us into, domestic terrorism, because that's the plan. And anyway, I wouldn't play ball, and I just ditched it and shifted directions because there's no way. And he's an original with that protest in Edmonton, an original. And they've been peacefully there with experts and local people and people coming in from all over to speak, really attacking the issues. True Albertans and Canadians, legit people. And all of a sudden, they've got, groups like trying to position and actually come to his protest in Edmonton on a convoy and align him with forces that are not what they're building. Forces that, again, are landing on domestic terrorism lists. And I'm so glad he recognized what was going on there. And again, all my support. Angry Albertan on Telegram. He does have a group here on Facebook too, but he's getting a little bit more raw over on Telegram, just like me, because we can. That's when we can't leave. They won't miss out on the birth certificate, insurance policies, and all the property tax increase by the new transmitting entity, John Q. Doe. I don't even... Everything is absolutely beneficial to the state and to the corporations and to every stakeholder in Agenda 2030, which even includes Indigenous leaders. Knowing that their population, and again, have they been told? I don't know. But knowing that their population absolutely suffers from inflammatory conditions, pretty much across the board, in some way, shape, or form, it lights up those conditions. This is an experiment. And it's eugenics. You know what? It's not even an experiment. No, it's not. They know exactly what they're doing. Just like this plan, guys. It's despicable. You know, I knew there was greed, and again, it's... but they don't care. Humanity, again, isn't on the menu for the future. It's going to be a whole new type of humanity. And again, the week, as this moves ahead and the years, like there's an Agenda 2063 plan for Africa. I've seen that. There's nobody left in the middle. So again, there's not going to be as many people, and it's not going to be pandemics that do it. It's going to be the mechanisms that they are controlling us with, and again, restructuring the entire health system around around the disease of COVID-19, which again started as a virus. And this is a continual, and has been a continual, wordsmithing. From a virus to a disease. And now a gene therapy posing as a vaccine. How can that be allowed with all the mechanisms we have in society? Oh, it's because it's a state of public health emergency. That's why. Because everything else before is out the window. People are either quite innocent to the point of stupid, or they know. How could they not know? Well, funny, I was just on CBC, and this woman was saying how her husband was a biochemist, and she would refer to him, and I said, well, if your husband's a biochemist, then he should know it's not a vaccine, it's a gene therapy. And then, of course, she fought back, and are you a biochemist? I said, no, but the expert I'm listening to is. And she says it's not, and your husband should know. People, honestly, Carrie, I'm starting to think people just don't want to know. They don't. They're going to follow the pack. Because all these people are doing it, they're just going to do it because, well, they're doing it. Have you ever seen that? It was a little special piece on YouTube, and it was people in a doctor's office, and they would have this little bell or this buzzer, and then a person stood up, and there were 4 people in the office, and they kept ringing it, and as it went, everybody started getting up and following that person, doing what they were doing because they were following the leader. And that's honestly how we're set up. These cohort groups in schools is, again, all about that. Sealing in these people so that everywhere they look, they're doing it. So, well, if I don't, then I'm the odd man out. Not many people have the strength to be the odd man out. I totally have the strength for that. I'm always the odd man out. Normally I am, because again, I don't go along with the pack just to. It's ridiculous. It's also, it's even hard for me to reconcile all of this. The fact that someone like me that has inflammatory conditions, originally derived from the MMR booster, that, again, you're not needed anymore. Time's expired. I'm glad that I invested in natural health. I am so grateful to have had a career in hemp foods and learning organics, and again, being in those health food stores, because truly that experience saved my life, because I had osteoarthritis and I was in a lot of pain, and there was a lot of things going wrong with me. And that was hastened along with stress. And again, inflammatory conditions. So I took care of myself, and I'm glad I did, because right now you don't want to be a sick person. You don't. Anyone with cancer, anyone. And again, we're at 3 out of 4 people have had cancer in their lives. Again, the last people that should be getting these is what they're pushing. No, look, you got a hard enough struggle. You don't need the introduction of something that's going to alter what they don't understand already. The fact is, with most conditions, they're not getting to the base or the root of any of it. All they're doing is medicating you. So again, you're not correcting the condition. You are merely masking it. That's all you're doing. So again, when you introduce this in, it's something that you shouldn't have to contend with. You've got enough problems. It's the truth. When I did promotions for health food stores, in health food stores, and I did them even the last 10 years because I truly do enjoy it, I can tell you most people coming in a lot of them have gotten themselves off the pharmaceuticals, and they've done it with supplements. They have. And I've heard many a success story over the years, which is why when I was confronted with my own condition, honestly, I came out of the doctor's office and I cried for about 10 seconds. And then I went, whoa, what are you doing? Martine, you've watched this all these years. All these people come in and tell you about the success stories they've had. And why wouldn't that be me too? And I changed it around. I did. And again, I made a very concerted effort to do so. I took every supplement, seriously. It was like a handful every day. I don't do that anymore because I solved the problem. And that's what happens when you take the natural route. With these guys, again, it's just a layer. Like, like Fauci, like he wants 3 masks. Stupid. You can't. And again, the introduction of this gene therapy is, again, for a doctor to even recommend it to someone who is aged or immunocompromised or even obese is honestly anyone. But even someone who's obese is not going to respond well. And again, they will never know. We are so socialized that these are innocuous. Crazy. I have inflammatory issues. Please tell me or share what worked for you. Well, it was quite the journey for me. Number one, for years I was taking a lot of immune boosters, and that I came to an end when I got on the heavy supplements. Vitamin C, that was the huge one. It's so underrated that to me, if I run out, I freak out. At least 2,000 milligrams a day. On cold winter days, if I'm out walking and stuff, I'll go 4,000 or 5,000 just to be sure. Inflammatories, anti-inflammatories. See, at the beginning I was doing sorry. Hello. It's been a while. See, what I did, I had a bone issue, so I took BioSil. And BioSil is, you can get it in drops or you can get it in pill form. And it has research. It's marketed for hair, bones, and skin. But it's because they can't put the claims. But in studies, it grew 13% bone in the hip. And I had osteoarthritis in the spine, and then my hip was going as well. And that was like I was in pain, bad pain. And the BioSil took that away. I was taking chondroitin and MSM and all of that at the beginning, but I got off that. And then just on the BioSil. I started with a lot, and then correcting the problem. And again, that was getting that bone reinforced. I do the collagen, usually in my coffee in the morning. I haven't had that for a few weeks, so I've got to go get some more. But I like it. Kind of fills me up a little bit because I intermittent fast, and I honestly believe the intermittent fasting had a huge effect. Of course, when we were all young, we didn't eat all day. It was normal. And now they call it intermittent fasting. It's funny. In any case, like some days I won't eat until 3, 4, sometimes 6 or 7. 16 hours, 17. And that is a reset for the body. It truly is. And that has helped me over a lot. And I do believe that would have impacted my asthma condition for sure. My gosh. Inflammation. That's pretty much, there was a time I was taking turmeric. I did. And, you know, I'll make the odd turmeric milk. Gosh. Really more focus on the supplements. And again, I took them full on. I traveled when I was 18 and 19, 20 to Central America. And I came home and I ended up in the hospital with a gut thing. And they never figured out what it was. But for 25 years, my guts were not right. It was bad. No one could ever diagnose it. So being a natural products, I started doing parasite cleanses and started learning from the experts and did those. I ended up taking it a little further because they couldn't diagnose it here. And I found out in Mexico from a lab that the tests that they were doing here would never have determined the one I had, that I figured I had. And again, I researched this lots to find the answer, because it was when I started to seek the answers myself that I was able to solve the problem. And that was several years of treatments between cleanses, parasite cleanses. When I would go to Ecuador, I would get theirs, mebendazole. Then there was another medication that was particular. And of course, they wouldn't give it to me here. So when I was in Africa, in Uganda, I picked it up. And it was after I took that and then did a few more courses of other, my guts are 100% now. And again, I restored those. The collagen was the biggest thing for the guts, to restore the integrity. The collagen, I don't really use it for the wrinkles and stuff. It's for the guts. And it definitely restores the integrity. I'm 100% now. No more issues. But again, it took years to clear that infection. And mostly because it could never be diagnosed. And I meet all sorts of people when I'm in South America and Mexico even. Canadians, Americans doing parasite tests. Because, again, they're just not sophisticated here when it comes to that. And again, when you've traveled and been all over the world, particularly in these countries, like, God, when I was in places that they'd never seen a gringo back in 1988. So there's just, again, we got sick several times. Like, I got sick, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, like real bad sick. And again, these things can continue on and cause havoc for sure. H. pylori is another one, again, parasite. And it's pretty prominent. And a lot of people pick that up when just traveling. So, and don't even realize that they have it. You know, and again, the whole parasite thing, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not a conspiracy theory. In Ecuador, in Mexico, even outside, like when I first went to Ecuador, God, 11 years ago, outside the pharmacies, they would have somebody sitting there and they would be like promoting their parasite medications. And again, it's available right over the counter. People that live there do it every 6 months, whether they need it or not. It's just one pill. In the little tiendas for health, because I'm into natural health. So I go to the little tiendas, and again, they've all got parasite concoctions, even for the niños, everybody. And they're just drinkable. There are lots of seeds and herbs, South American, and you just mix it in water. It tastes absolutely horrible. Got quinine in them a lot of times. Yeah. So I understand all that stuff. And again, the doctors here don't. The problem is that, again, they see a condition and they just medicate you. That's all they're doing. And then if you want more than that, you've got to go to the naturopath. But the naturopaths are expensive, and this is what deters a lot of people from going. Because once you put the naturopath in and then all those herbs and supplements, it's a lot. It's a huge commitment. And quite honestly, I would have not ever gotten healthy had I had to pay for the naturopath, because I wouldn't have been able to afford the supplements. I wouldn't have, period. How I did that and tried a lot is because I know the stores really well. And the sale rack, this is where I would try. And where I would, again, work my doses, and through different brands, and I know the good ones, I would be able to, again, calibrate how much vitamin B I was getting. And I was like literally down to recording it all every day. And I totally saw a huge result. I had a healer from the billionaire in Alberta, Pure North. I've talked about him before. I had Airbnb, and his healer stayed with me doing a trade show. He's a Tibetan healer, and I found it interesting because he told me that, you know, the billionaire does like, 12,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. And it was before that, I mean, I'd heard that you could go higher, 6,000, 7,000. But when he told me that, I'm like, okay, because I know this guy has done more vitamin D research in Canada than anyone. University of Calgary. So that's huge. So I started going for 12,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. And again, my bones, everything got better. So D, K, A, I do the alphabet. But now I'm doing a multi, where before I wouldn't have relied just on a multi. No way, that wasn't enough. Because again, for years I had absorption problems, and that's huge for people, absorption issues. When you've got gut issues, you're not absorbing. So again, just like those capsules you're taking that say 400 milligram, like by the time it synthesizes, it's not, put it this way, 400 milligrams isn't landing. And again, that's all in absorption. And as we age, our absorption goes down, right? So lots to worry about. What's interesting, though, was with Dr. Mercola the other day, was the they were talking about, Dr. Judy Mikovits and Dr. Mercola were talking about how this gene therapy plays out. And what was interesting was that it depletes glutathione. And one of the supplements I take in order to enhance my natural glutathione is NAC. And that is brilliant. It's actually an excellent detoxer. They use it in hospitals for acetaminophen overdoses. When you take that, it's actually a detox. It detoxes the lungs, the liver, and it helps create glutathione in your system. And it's, again, priced really, really well. It's reasonable. $20 for like a month's supply, 2 months supply. Yeah, 2 months supply now for me. Again, I was taking high doses. At the beginning, I was taking 2,400 milligrams a day. Now I only take 600. Again, once I got myself right, then I just lowered the dosages. And I use a lot of liquids too, because again, those are absolutely absorbed. So the vitamins and Ds, I use that on my skin, on my wrinkles. I've got all the vitamins right there, with my lotions. And I make my own lotions too, because I don't want all the chemicals. See, this is the problem with all of us. We don't realize, like women don't realize that by the time they leave the house in the morning, a lot of them have used 100 chemicals that are in these products that they're using. You got to keep that down. Again, just like your food, the body cannot process all of this. It's too much information, just like what we're experiencing right now. Way too much information that we can't possibly process. It's a lot. In any case, guys, I'm going to take off because, of course, this is our Friday afternoon. It is 4:44 on the clock. Love that. I'm going to go to the store and get ready. It's actually warming up here. I'm super excited. It has been so cold that you go and it's get where you're going and get back. This has been going on for over 2 weeks. So tomorrow it is actually going to be like -7 or something. So I'm pretty excited. It's -18 right now, so that's exciting too. In any case, have a great weekend, everybody. And I'm probably going to do one on Sunday. I like the Sunday afternoon crowd. And we'll have a few more days to digest more as to what's happening in our world. Have a great weekend.